What is up, YouTube? This is The Working Investor. In this video, we're going to talk about my results for October 2024. What has my dividend total payout been? What is my allocation? What is my strategy? What is my next steps? Stay tuned. This video will cover all of it. So first of all, you guys know that this is kind of what I'm holding right now. And what you see in green is what I'm trying to build up actively. So I mentioned in many of my videos that we are living in the era of option-based ETFs. And option-based ETFs have been around for a while, but they just picked up a lot over the past few years. And as an option trader, I have commanded very high yield, 24% plus, return on premium annualized per year. So yes, it's going to be around, and people are closer than ever for retiring if you do it right. Not financial advice. This is just my personal opinion, my personal journey. So what I do is I keep myself very focused, and I double down to this over and over again. It's very easy to get FOMO, fear of missing out, fear of new fund missing out, because there are so many funds coming out every single day. Whenever you feel like you finally got the best fund out there, a better one comes in and just does even better performance, and it's like a faster horse and better risk, So basically, you don't want to put all your apples in one basket, and you want to try to find funds that, if the funds are dwindling down in net asset value or whatever the price is, then you're kind of like locked in. You're kind of forced to reinvest. But if they're kind of holding itself up pretty well, if you find a better fund, you could just reallocate. But I'm not saying that going into funds that drop in value is a horrible thing if the premium is paying off. Anyways, so you see here, what I do is, if you notice a trend over here, I have things in increments of $5, $10, $20,000. And where you see 8 and 2s, those are basically the inverse fund together to make it $10,000. So this way, it keeps me very, very simple. It keeps my focus very, very simple. If something is below, if something went down in price, then the initial money that I put into the fund is not up to the value that I put in. So when I get its dividends, I am forced to reinvest 100% of the dividend into the underlying fund until I am made whole of my initial investment I put in. Let's say, for example, FEPI. If FEPI is below 5,000, that means that, AKA the cost basis of the fund is lower than my cost basis that I entered, then I will reinvest 100% of the dividends of FEPI until FEPI is made whole. And once FEPI is made whole, I can use the excess dividends to help other funds become whole or build up other funds. What you see in green right now, I'm building up AIPI. So that's what's being built up right now. My target of AIPI is $5,000. So I'm right now about over $1,000 in there. And then I have the Roundhill products, XDTE, QDTE, RDTE. These percent yields are just guesstimates. Don't beat me up on that. What have I done here? To the best of my knowledge. So, I may change it over time if I see different, if they show different results. I haven't updated since last month. Now, NVIDIA dips, I'm already up to my allocation. So I have $10,000 into the NVIDIA holding. But I do $2,000 on the inverse side, which also pays a pretty good dividend, about 86% annualized return. But again, I have to double check the newer, I have to recalibrate this. But basically, I'm pretty much bullish in NVIDIA and AKA NVIDIA, but I do have a little bit of a safety belt. That's how I look at it. I use it to neutralize volatility. That's how I use it. The prospectus says otherwise. Misty, I built up. It's a new position. I'm not sure if you saw it last time, but now it's built up to $8,000. I sold out of Coney. I got rid of my $3,000 in Coney because I wanted to have $10,000 of Misty, Bitcoin exposure. Well, actually, I have $12,000 of Bitcoin exposure, but I wanted to cap it at 10 or 12. But I felt, for me, that Misty is a better horse than Coney. It's more a pure Bitcoin leverage play. And Coney has all kinds of lawsuits and SEC things dragging it down. So I was able to almost break even. I just sold and put it right into Misty. And then I built up additional 5K, 3K from Coney, moved over to Misty, 5K new money. And then I used some margin. And then I have 8,000 in the bullish position of MicroStrategy, or AKA Bitcoin. And I know fiat is an inverse of Coney, but fiat will tend to, move up and down also with the price of Bitcoin as well. So I have an inverse. I call it like my little airbags, or my little parachutes. If Bitcoin goes down, at least I have something that kind of helps sort of neutralize volatility. Same thing with Tesla crash. I have 10 grand into Tesla, but I use 2,000 on the crash side, which is the inverse, which also pays a good premium or dividend. And basically together, I am able to have this position with a little bit of, the way I look at it, like a little bit of a hedge edge. Alti is in itself kind of like a hedge fund in itself. They do all kinds of assets, and I bumped this up. As you saw last month, I got to my allocation of 20K. I have single stock ETFs without any inverse exposure. I have AMZ, I have Phoebe, 5K in AMZ, 5K in Phoebe. AMZ is Amazon, Phoebe is Meta. And then Bitto was something I kind of got into haphazardly, but I've been having a great time just writing cover calls against it and getting really juicy dividends, $100+ per month for the $2,000 that I have in there. So until I get called away, I'm just having fun. And then I have GIAX. Again, I'm trying to build that up. Also, I have over $1,000 in there. I'm trying to build that up to 5K. I have made a video on GIAX. It's a very diversified fund. They do call credit spreads on many different sectors, even international exposure. So I'm trying to build that up to 5K. So the two things here in green are where my goal is going. It may take me a month or so to get that up there, maybe 2 months. We'll see. I'm pretty much going to use some paycheck contributions, and any excess dividends, or if I do some options, premium gets rolled into there if I can. So projected, once I hit those targets, would be 5K. That's why I say my goal is to hit 5K by the end of the year, by New Year's. So the question is, how has my results been so far this month? So here's the big thing you guys have been waiting for in the video. So you can see here, March, $465. April, this was just option premium before I got into high yield dividend. So I started tracking my my income from March. So 465, and they say what you track is what you grow. You have to monitor to see if you're doing better. Bumped it up $600 month over month to April, another $600 month over month in option premium in May. And in June, I started doing 0-day to less than 7-day to expiration options. I did it myself on the Russell and then the NASDAQ. And I bumped that up from 1,600 to $2 grand. And then July is when I started transitioning a little bit into the high yield dividend ETF. I did some core number compounding, the style that the YieldMax TV or Oracle guy talks about. Bumped it up to $2,500. August was a horrible month. I did some bad, it was a lot of options that I had that kind of got stuck upside down. And I had a net loss of $700. September was 3608, a record month. Pretty much bumped up my, my income. Never had it so high, to additional, like $1,100 almost. And October, drum roll please, paste. Here we go. So October right now, even though there's still a few more days in the month, there is option payouts coming up on Friday, but technically speaking, Friday is already November 1st. So I will count that for the month of November, because that is technically in the month of November. So we're just going to stop here and say we're at 44.65. That's my total. The reason why I haven't hit the 5,000 mark is, number one, like I said, I'm building up GIAX and I'm building up AIPI. In addition, when I went into the funds, I got in about 50%. I got in on declaration date or before the week of declaration. And the other 50% I got on the ex-dividend date, because I wanted to capture some of the dividends for this cycle, but I also wanted to capture some of the dip, some of like lower cost average. So because when there was an ex-dividend date, there was literally a planned discount to get into these funds. So that's why I did this blended type of entry. I learned this from one of the smart guys from the Kamir's Discord. Great Discord, and there's a lot of interesting, very intelligent people there. So we just bounce ideas off each other. So yeah, that's doing great. Now let's talk about really cool how this thing will. Now I have this like dividend. I have this spreadsheet I made for quite some time ago, and like the total amount I have right now invested, this includes margin, is $107,000. And if we're talking about a point, like roughly, a 54% annualized return, we're talking about a gross, as of now, this second, and this is before taxes, $57,780 if without compounding or growing anything at all. If this option premium Because you ever think to yourself like, oh my God, I wish I had a clone. I wish I could clone myself and use my clone to go work for me, and I could be freed up for my life. So I look at this dividend ETF, these option-based high yield dividend ETFs as an extra worker, and I like to track how much my extra worker is making in salary because I'm looking at 2,080 hours in the year. So I'm trying to see how much it would make per hour. So right now, my extra worker from this high yield dividend ETFs is making me $27.77 an hour. So it's making more than minimum wage. At one point, it was below minimum wage. And let's say hypothetically, I would add about $1,000 a month, $500 a paycheck. So the greens is where projections are before this doesn't include taxes, which I have to take off, but also does include margin, which I can use to help catapult this further. So in 1 year, the way things are looking, my monthly income would bump up from 4,800 to $8,000, and then year 2 we're talking almost 13 grand. Year 3 we're talking 20 grand. So people used to say, look at things at a 10-year horizon, but we don't have any patience. We got to live now. But if hypothetically, if you are looking at a 10-year horizon, in 10 months, if this just keeps compounding, again, not including taking off money for taxes and not including on the other side of the coin, using some margin to get further ahead, but also not considering also the interest you have to pay on margin. So just put those factors up there. I like to look at the whole picture. We're talking about $441,440. That sounds astronomical, and that is per month. Can you live on that per month? I think so. But I'm looking just a 3-year goal, hit 20K a month. That's pretty cool. So this is just how crazy and wild this keeps going. Now we're going to talk about, I was looking into like after I finished GIAX and after bumping up my allocation of AIPI to my goal, I'm thinking, what would be my next step? So I look into the NASDAQ, and if you look at the past 1 year, the QQQ is up total return 42%. So I'm looking at different tech-based ETFs, and if looking at tech-based ETFs, you should base it on the index itself. And I look at the benchmark of NASDAQ, and I see the past year, it's 42.35%. I look at total return because there is a little bit of a dividend. So I was looking at YMAX versus YMAG. They're very attractive. They are yield max products. I'm not saying I'm going to go into these funds. I'm just looking at them again. I've looked at them several times. I'm just trying to reevaluate them again. So for example, first I was looking at YMAX because they have a very nice dividend distribution. And quite frankly, the past week, YMAG announced a weekly distribution of 5 cents, a nickel. And I'm like, 5 cents, that's not a lot of money, so it's like you're being nickel and dimed over here, or being paid nickels and dimes. So I looked into YMAX, and you can see total return YMAX, although they pay a better dividend, total return, you see YMAX is down the past year, 12.76%. So total return is 17.03%. So you saw the NASDAQ is performing about 40+%. So it's underperforming total returns of the NASDAQ. Of course, you shouldn't compare a growth play versus an income play, but I like to see how it does relative in total returns to the underlying index, just to see, just for fun, and make sure I'm doing the right thing. And then I'm looking at the YMAG, and they pay lower dividends. And maybe it was just a one-off week, but you can see YMAG held the price up better. The price return over the past year is negative 3.79%, but the total return is definitely crushed YMAX, based on Seeking Alpha using total return, 25.26%. So they fared much better. I'm not saying I'm going into them. I'm just starting to look into them. I want to share with you my thought process, how I look into these funds. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is The Working Investor over and out. Have a wonderful trading day. Remember, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And again, this is not financial advice.